right, everybody. Welcome to In Other Words, ladies. Jason, it's nice to see you all.
Nice to see you. Nice to see you, ladies.
So we are here, every week we have a word of the week to guide our show, and the word of the week is generosity. We have a very special guest with us, which is our friend Jason Marquis. He's from Birmingham, Alabama, and he is with Realty South. Does tons of stuff for the community or communities across the country, realtor organizations, and we thought of you, Jason, when we picked the word generous. So we're looking forward to exploring that with you. We also have Jody O'Brien representing New England as usual. We have Lee York with us down south in Texas. Brent Lancaster is out again on assignment, but he'll be making his triumphant return next week. So we look forward to seeing him. Jason, welcome to the show.
Welcome. Thank you. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Now,
I look forward to it.
All right. So here's the thing. I was talking earlier, and I said, because Jason, you and I have crossed paths at national stuff, NAR and REBI and all kinds of different committees and that sort of thing. And I was like, every time I see this guy, he's either doing something for somebody or giving them a gift. And I'm not even exaggerating when I say that. So, we wanted to hear from you a little bit on, what generosity means to you and maybe what it means to you in the business world. So take it away, sir.
So generosity is, I was always taught to pay it forward. And, if I can help someone, then I know that karma will pay me back multiple fold. Even if I don't like the person, just being generous by not killing them will help me pay it forward and also keep me out of jail because I don't look good in orange. But in generosity in business is just believing in yourself and believing that if you would do a good thing, the arc of justice always bends towards the arc of justice always bends towards the truth and towards generosity.
I love that, but I think I got a little sneak peek on your dark side there.
Yeah. There are, and I find that if someone pisses you off, do a good thing and you instantly feel better to someone else. If you do a good thing for someone else, you instantly feel better. And they then, that other person owns your bad day. You don't.
I love that. I want to come back to this because I've always been interested in the idea of like, when you do something for somebody else, even though that's, generous and a good deed, are you really doing it for yourself to feel good about doing that thing? And is that okay? So we're going to come back to that. Jody, talk to me about generosity. I know you're going to start quoting Churchill again, like in your video. So let's hear it. Oh, wait, I'm not getting your audio, Jody. Are you muted?
How's that?
There we go. Hi.
Sorry, I touched my mic. I really truly believe that, but I have to really be honest here. And as I said this to you earlier, I struggle with this concept because by nature to me, sales, which is a large portion of real estate, you can argue whether it's sales or it's service or whatever. I think it's actually both, but it's sales. Sales and generosity seem to me to be almost batting heads together, And so one of the things that I always struggle with is how do you make that explanation to someone that by giving you receive, to give it away, you get it back. Which I think is really important because when you're focused on being productive and being high sales volumes, particularly if you're talking about on the broker side of it, where they're not a one-on-one competing, there are many on many competing, and that they struggle with this concept of giving anything away as opposed to getting everything.
Okay. All right. And Lee, what are your thoughts on the subject?
Well, I think I'm on the same path as they are. I think that generosity is an investment. And I think that whatever you're being generous with, it's an investment in that thing. I think, an example that would come to the mind of most of our viewers and listeners is the pack, our pack, right? And no, this isn't, this isn't a pitch, but with our pack, we always say, it's not a donation, it's an investment, because
Right.
we're investing in something that comes back to us tenfold. And it's the same way in business with anytime we're doing, I mean, I've been raised in real estate that every consumer deserves 30 minutes of my time. They may never do anything that gets me paid, but they deserve 30 minutes of my time. And by being willing to give 30 minutes of my time to someone that I didn't know was ever going to buy or sell anything, I've made more money. So it's come back to me.
All right. Yeah. All right. So talk to me more about that idea of, are you really doing it for yourself, or are you doing it for them, or does that matter? Like, do you know what I'm saying, Jason? The idea that, like, you feel good when you do something for somebody. So is it altruistic that you're helping somebody, or is it just to make yourself feel better?
I think it's both. I mean, there are things that you do that are purely for altruistic reasons. If it means going to the homeless shelter and, volunteering at, your favorite charity, that's altruistic reason.
Mm-hmm.
Being generous with someone is true. I mean, as Jody said, and Lee said, it's an investment. And if you don't see those returns on your investment, and I don't mean, something material or a special favor, but it could be just the return of politeness or, compassion. If you don't see that, then I'm not going to be generous with you. I'll be cordial with you, but I'm not going to go out of my way and help you.
Okay.
And, you talked about altruistic. I'm on this board of directors for this realtor group called Leftover Love. And this idea started by one of your homegirls in Arizona, Paula Montefiore.
Yeah.
She collected snacks, leftover snacks at a board meeting. And there was some homeless teenagers, I guess, outside a hotel in Phoenix. I'm not quite sure where this all started, but she just wanted to see, she saw the need, she saw all of this waste that people didn't eat. And here are these poor homeless people that need just a little ounce of milk of human kindness. And she put the two together and it grew from there. These people are never going to be, in our world, home buyer, in our immediate world, home buyers. I don't know if they may buy at one point, but I'm not in Phoenix, Arizona, and I will never sell in Washington, D.C. or Chicago, Illinois, or Boston, Massachusetts, or New Orleans, Louisiana, if we get to go to New Orleans, Louisiana in November.
Yeah.
But it gives me, it fills my well of compassion and my well of self-esteem, knowing that I did a little something to help them. So yes, I am being altruistic in helping them, but I'm also being selfish in a way by doing it because it makes me feel better. It brightens my day knowing that I helped somebody.
Yeah, and that's so fabulous. And let's tie it to business. So yeah, Paula Montefiore first started that program in Arizona. Now it's grown. She brought it to like the mid-year and annual meetings, San Francisco. I know last year in DC, and talk about generosity. Didn't you rent an SUV to help collect from the different hotels and stuff like that? And
yeah.
So what the program does is collect snacks and like shampoos and soaps from the hotels and all that stuff. And then at the end of the event, there's these backpacks with all, socks and cool stuff, and you guys go out and distribute them. But my point of bringing it up is that's a perfect example of generosity. Is you heard about it and you jumped in and you rented an SUV to take it bigger. And so, I already knew you, but you know who my Birmingham guy is, right? In real estate. If I've got buyers or sellers, I know who to go to. So that does pay also in real estate, right? And that's
it does.
Okay, yeah.
It does. It very much does. And, you know, but I didn't do it for that purpose.
Right. You didn't know I was watching, right?
No.
And I know you don't do it.
And a true act of generosity is doing it when nobody is watching.
Absolutely.
When everybody is watching, it's not necessarily generous. It's you're putting on the airs, or you're doing what is morally and ethically and socially constructed, expected of you.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's
it's when you
point.
don't do. It's when no one is watching, and you give to somebody, or you send them a little pick me up because somebody, for you heard that Lee's mother turned 80, so I'll send her a car. And generosity is not always putting on the social media. Oh yeah. Oh, I sent Lee's mother a 59th birthday card, because that's our story and we're sticking to it. It's, you do it because you want to, because you have the means to do it, because it feels better. And part of this all started is, believe it or not, I am horrible with names. But I will remember the most obscure fact about you.
Okay.
And so from 2 years, I'll meet you today and I'll remember that your dog is named Bentley. And I will forget your name. And I will never address you as Lee, but I will ask you 2 years from now, how's Bentley doing? And
nice.
And it will make that other person feel so much better, knowing that I remembered that little detail from a meeting 2 years ago.
Sure.
And it will bring me business later on down the road, so that when someone in Dallas or Fort Worth or Boston or Bullhead City is moving to Alabama or to Florida, oh yeah, I've got the perfect person for you, because he will take care of you, because he remembered my dog's name.
Right. And the people who don't shine a light on themselves when they're doing something that's quote unquote generous, they really stand out. I think I think that was a great point to bring up, because there's that PR moment, and it's like, that's weird how that was so set up perfectly for everybody to see you doing this selfless thing, right? Jody, what's up?
I wanted to take that to my classical place that I like, is to the broker's level, because here's where I really think you see a lot of that action for recognition. And it may not be recognition, it might be action for recruitment, right? Action for loyalty or whatever. And they're not necessarily being generous. And my favorite memory of this, and the people shall remain nameless, but was on a habitat build for a company that I worked for, and loading up the buses to go off to the habitat build. Here is the head honcho, right, on the bus, and yeah, isn't this great? And we get off, and he gives the head honcho rah-rah speech when we get to the site. And he gets out a roller, starts painting, and they were all snapping photographs and etc. Right. And so now we're about halfway in, about half an hour into this full day, blazing hot in the sun, habitat build, and off he goes in the limousine.
No,
I am not kidding you. I am not kidding. Entourage and all, limousine, off he goes, right? And leaves the rest. And I was never so let down in my entire life that your act of generosity was all a fake. It was all a put on. And what scares me right now is that there's a lot of companies in general, real estate in specific, because that's what we tend to talk about, that believe that generosity is part of who they have to be. They are understanding that we have an extremely generous generation coming into our industry, the millennials, right? They're very more community service oriented than any previous generation, according to studies. And so they're putting on this fake image. And if I see one more company name / cares, you know, with checks going into it, I think I'm going to be sick, because that isn't what Jason's got his boots on the ground working at it. And one of the biggest things that I heard him say, and I don't know if anyone else did, so I want to repeat it. And he said, not what he was giving did these people want, not the snacks, not the socks, not the shampoo, but they wanted a little ounce of the milk of human kindness, right? They wanted a small, and so Jason's out there giving a small piece of him away every time he does it. That is authentic. And I think we need to couple generosity with authenticity.
I agree.
So how else, let's say you're coming from a good place and you're being authentic. What are some ways that you've seen or you can imagine being generous other than, you know, with money? We've talked about collecting snacks. We talked about habitat, but
it's time. It's you know, right before we started, I was asking Jody about, we are both, she's going to be president-elect of REBI, which is the Real Estate Business Institute. And I was asking her a question about the REBI, because Lee, and well, actually, all of us are on some form of REBI task force or committee about a certain question. And she was generous enough to give me that answer. She did not tell me, well, call so-and-so and such and such, or go to the website. She was willing to share that information. And you're all instructors. We're all instructors, and we're willing to be generous with our knowledge base. Not, yes, we make money, but we also do it because we are making better realtors. We are, and this is so trite and so overused. I almost want to pivot to the new normal of raising the bar. But right. we are truly trying to make the industry better by when Lee goes out to an association and teaches the code of ethics. When Jody comes to your association to teach the CRB classes to create a better class of broker. When you do what you do in your field, teaching whatever, you know, I've seen you teach a couple things, but you're doing it to make it better, to make us marginally better than we were when we walked in the door. And that's being generous. That is being generous of your knowledge, of your teaching ability, and also of your knowledge base. And so that's not just money. That's not just a physical item. That's it could be your time. It could be your knowledge. It could be, you know, a phone number for here's the right person that you need to talk to about this situation. That's being generous.
Yeah, I think
let's encourage some of those people online to tell us what they think what their generous ideas are.
Well, Lee, yeah, go ahead, drop it in the chat. Let us know what you're thinking. So, Lee, code of ethics, I'm thinking of the preamble and kind of tie this into our whole calling about, you know, sharing our being zealous and all those fun words. So tell me, how does this tie into the code?
Oh, wow. Okay. So I'm going to try not to go into teacher mode here, right? But you know, you hit my button. So the preamble is 7 paragraphs, and at least 5 of them relate to what realtors do in their communities. And paragraph 7 is probably my favorite because it points out that none of us are realtors like only when we're doing real estate. You know, like Evan, your real estate license, does it say you're active to practice real estate in Arizona from 9 to 5, Monday through Friday?
No, I don't. I wouldn't mind that being in there, but no.
Exactly. So you've either got a license or you don't. You're either a member of the National Association of Realtors or you aren't. And so being a member and being a realtor and living up to those tenets it's 24/7. It's all the time, you know? And so you're always doing those things, and we're a value to the committee, to the community. And it has all of those things in there. You know, the first paragraph is all about protecting private property rights. It goes on through to cooperating with other realtors in order to benefit the consumer, because it's all about the consumer and them having a level playing field. And then of course it goes into the golden rule. So yeah, I mean, all of that is in the preamble. Did that answer the question?
Yeah, of course, and I know when I give you code of ethics, that's just like tossing you a meatball. But you know, the idea of how we share this common responsibility to improve the industry, and it's all about cooperating and working together. And so even though we're competitors, like, you know, for the industry to get better, for us to do a better job representing our clients, we have to be generous with one another, right? In terms, you know, it can't be like, oh, I know that secret thing that makes me better. If everybody was like that, it would kind of fall down, wouldn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. And I want to tag on to what they were saying. By the way, y'all said so many good things, right? So to pick one, but you know, we're talking about generosity, and I think a lot of our discussion has been equating that to charitable endeavors, either money or time, you know, like you said. But I think there's also a place for generosity in that social impact piece. Jody mentioned a little bit of generational theory. You know, we know that millennials are the most giving group since the greatest generation. Starting with the millennials, but really big with Gen Z, they're all about social impact. And I think a lot of businesses and brokers get that confused in their culture with generosity. Because like I say, you know, when you're recruiting and I'm talking to them about that stuff and building your culture, they start talking about how they give money and their act cares, Jody, right? So they start talking about that. And what I'm trying to put forth to them is it's not just giving money, it's that social impact of what we do in our business. You know, supporting that American dream and helping people take advantage of opportunities that are offered when it comes to housing, you know, and how that affects an entire community. So, while I think charity and social impact are two different things, but I think they both fall under generosity.
I agree.
Yeah, that makes sense. So Jason, you maybe watch because you're down there. Cliff Long in Orlando does that thing every Monday? The
Uplift with Cliff. Yep.
Man, I watched some of that earlier this week, and you can't help but get just lifted up seriously by watching it.
I didn't know anything
about talking about what's that?
I did not know anything about this. I don't know how I've not seen that.
Lee, I've heard you talk about this specific thing, but he does like a Facebook Live, and it's not just for the Orlando Association. It's, you know, on Facebook. What is it, Jason? Is it every Monday morning?
Every Monday at 9:30 Eastern.
8:30 Central.
8:30 Central. He does Uplift with Cliff. And for those of you who don't know who Cliff Long is, Cliff Long used to be the association executive in Birmingham, and then he moved to Orlando. And because of he's one of my absolute best friends. He's my brother from another mother. Shout out to Cliff.
Yeah.
And I joined Orlando because of Cliff, and he is the most inspiring, wonderful human being on the face of the earth.
Oh. Wow.
Yeah. And he does this, you know, you could be having the worst day ever, and you watch one of Cliff's Uplift with Cliff's videos or call him, and instantly you feel 150 times better.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying is I watched him for a few minutes. Last time I taught down there, I spoke to him for like 2 minutes, and I felt better about myself. But you know, he definitely has that impact. but he was talking this week about the realtor's impact on the community every time a home turns over, what it does for the tax base, what it does for schools in terms of kids getting better grades when they're in a home that's owned versus rented. And he was just giving all these facts to back up the impact, and just giving it away for, like, he wasn't selling anything, he wasn't trying to get me to join his association or anything. But anyway, I thought it was really cool. And it's another tie-in to, you have to be committed to, I know he considers realtors to be ambassadors to the community there, and on the financial side as well. So it's a lot more about than just making the sale, right? There's a lot of giving that goes on there to make it happen.
Very much so. I went on a listing appointment this week that it was a referral, so it's an even more difficult, because you're trusting, this person is trusting their client to you, and it would be an incredibly difficult listing to sell. And I went to them and I said, look, I know what you need to do. The best thing for you to do is to do a cash out refinance, put the house for rent. You'll make $250 a month and move on with your life and be better. I'm not going to get any money off of this, but the best thing for you to do is to go down this road. If we need to sell, we'll sell, but just know that it'll be a difficult house and it may not accomplish what you need to accomplish in the time frame that you have set out for yourself.
Yeah, and good for you for doing the right thing. What you were saying before about karma, that comes back to you later for sure. Jody, what's up?
Well, it almost falls under the category, doesn't it, of customer service, being you're generous when you're providing the ultimate of customer service. And, those companies that have sort of turned their back on us for so many years, or wanted us to wait in line, or any other number of poor customer service relationships, aren't being generous to us. And so doing what's right and being and providing really great customer service is just another way of the charity and the social impact, and now customer service are all other forms of being generous.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
And people are willing to pay more for that. I can get shirts it's a ubiquitous brand in the South.
Okay, got it.
Or I could go to my favorite Dallas-based department store, hint, hint, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, Lee York.
I know.
And spend on, what would be considered a small mortgage payment on a shirt, or a tie, which I have done. And, they'll do everything short of carrying me around Egyptian style on a, on a float throughout the men's department.
They offer
Although
that.
they probably would at the Dallas store. They don't do it so much at the one at Lenox Square.
Man, I gotta visit the one in Dallas, I think.
I completely agree with you, Jason. I use that example all the time to people, is that, and there's a great point where your generosity matches your profitability. That first question I raised, where they aren't opposites. They are synchronistic. And that's a great example of the synchronicity of generosity and profitability.
Well, how much of it is being like aware of the other person or cause more so than yourself? Like you have to have enough, you have to be invested enough in the other person to care about them, to know what would help them, whether it's time, money, a thing, a service, right? Isn't that a big part of it?
Yes, but you have to be self-aware enough of yourself to understand. You have to understand yourself enough to understand before you can understand what the another person needs. If you are not self-aware, then it does not matter if you're generous or not. You're not able to read that other person and what their needs are, because you're worrying about your needs, and you're towards the bottom of the Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
Well, it goes back to the platinum rule instead of the golden rule.
Right.
Yes. Which is a wonderful book, by the way, if you've never read it.
Yeah, love the Platinum Rule. But also, Evan, you were asking if it wasn't kind of self-serving, to be generous. And I was sitting here, listening to y'all, and you made some great points. But I think, who cares? What does it matter why, if good things are getting put into the world? I'm all about, and I would even say most of the generous things I do, nobody else knows, right? Just me and that person, because I don't go blasting it, and I think that it's nobody's business, right? But
exactly.
But I'm just private that way. Not everyone is, and I think even if I were making like a big show out of it, if I'm helping a whole lot of people with my big show, what's wrong with that? I think as long as the good is going out, it doesn't matter why.
Right. I totally agree. And I think it's okay to acknowledge, like, in fact, it's even better if you can find the thing that makes you feel good, but helping people in a way that makes you feel good. I think that's great. Right. And there's nothing wrong with acknowledging that. I think I've mentioned before the book, The Go-Giver. Have we talked about that? The law of,
I don't think we have, but that's
the law of receptivity, they call it, which is to give and be open to receiving. It's just that simple, and they talk about, running your business by these 5 laws. And that's one of them, is like, you're not doing it to get something back, but be open to getting something back. There's nothing wrong with that,
Yeah, sometimes it is generous to receive.
Wait, you're going deep here. Hang on a second.
I am going deep. And y'all, it's coming from Mama. So this is like a real Southern thing. I'm fixing.
Okay.
But one time someone was trying to do, something nice for me. And I was like, oh no, I'm good. I don't need that. And I remember Mama like jerking my arm and pulling, how the Southern Mama will like pinch you and bring you out, she brought me in close. And she said, don't you dare rob her of her gift.
Right.
So when you don't accept that, you can rob them of their gift. So yeah, and I know for me, receiving is the hardest end of it. But I always have that scratchy voice in my head saying, don't you rob her of her gift.
I just want to put out there, I love getting gifts. I have no problem with receiving gifts. It's not going to be an issue. So I can help you with your generosity right there.
Well, Paula says she'll take food for service.
Yeah, I know.
Jason, you got a yeehaw on the bow tie, not the regular tie, Patrick.
So we do have to have Paula on to, talk about many things, but we want to shine some more light on the Leftover Love program too.
Yeah, it's a great program.
Yeah. So Jason, tell me about, and I hope this isn't embarrassing to you, but I remember at the NAR Board of Directors meeting, see you like run around, there's like 700-800 people in the room, and you're like running around giving gifts to all these people. And what do you like think of all the people that you're going to see when you get there? Or how does that work?
Okay. So what you saw was a couple of years ago.
Okay.
It was I was blessed to be part of the 2017 National Association of Leaders Leadership Academy class, best class ever. Sorry, Lee.
Oh, Lee.
No. Whoa.
Here we go.
I'm going to mute you.
And I wanted to get, when you're blessed to be part of the class, everybody becomes you get 17, 18, however many of your new best friends. And so and everybody in that class had a passion for advocacy. It was, I know, shocking, because, we're all in the Leadership Academy class. And so I was looking at an idea, and I came up with this pair of socks. And so I was like, going to have these socks made for my class. And I looked, and for what it would cost to make 20 pairs of socks, I could make 200 pairs of socks. So now I'm like, okay, I now have these 180 pairs of socks that I have to do with. I do not want to store them in my house. I do not want to be accused of being a hoarder. So I'm like, okay, who do I give them to? So then it became kind of like the planning of a wedding. Well, if you invite A to the wedding, then you have to invite B. And if B gets invited, then you have to at least acknowledge C. So the 200 pairs of socks then grew to 350 pairs of socks when I created this list, because if I give Lee a pair of socks and then Lee sits next to Evan, and Evan, so that's how.
And
so that's when you saw me running.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I thought
I've got a couple pairs left. We'll talk to me afterward.
Well, I'll say this. Jason and I obviously had two different class personalities, because while he gave socks to his class, I gave wine stocks to all of mine. The corks that go in the top of the bottle, that's what they all got.
Also very practical.
Everybody was glad to get
it. Patrick mentioned in the comments that it's a. Wait, I don't want to misquote him. He said someone's character can be measured by what they do when they think they're not being observed. To Jason's point, and I think that's.
Let me guess. Is that Patrick Lynch?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I knew it. He's a smarty pants. Do y'all know him?
I don't think I know Patrick.
He's a wonderful broker out of Chicago.
Yeah,
okay.
he's a great guy, and he's got robins on his balcony right now. But little baby robins.
All right, so let me close out with a question so we can wrap this, put a bow on this. How do you, let's say you're a little bit on the miserly side, okay, you're not quite as generous, and you heard this, watched this, and you're like, man, I gotta give more. What do I do to up my generosity game?
I'll start out, because I think the miserly is the attitude of I'm only giving and I'm not getting. So I think you have to look at the broader picture of generosity, and I think that you have to kind of look deep into your soul and realize. And again, I'll speak to the broker owners. What do you have to be generous with? You have your time to be generous with. You have your knowledge and expertise to be generous with. You have your competitors and your vendors, not just your own people, to be generous with. And you need to give of that. And trust me, stop worrying, because you will get always.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not just about money or time. It could be sharing of a favorite inspector or a wonderful mortgage person that you've worked with. Right. If whatever you do helps in an incremental way to make someone's life better, a transaction better, that's generosity. And it doesn't cost any money to say, hey, Lee, here is a great mortgage person. Hey, Jody, have you tried, I was in Boston, have you tried this restaurant? You might love it. I know you might I know you love burgers. Here is this great burger place that I have found that you may not know about. And that's being generous. And that doesn't cost anything.
Well, and you're multiplying there, right? Because you're being generous to the person that you're turning them on to, and you're making someone else's life better, and whoever's watching. That's a great. So there, you cheapskate, miserly ones. There's an easy way to do it, totally free. It can help a lot of people, including yourself. I don't see how you lose. Lee, what can I do to be a more generous human or business person?
I think offer praise. But maybe you're not good to go out and do things for other, maybe you don't have time and you're too tight to spend your money, or whatever it is. But when you see somebody else doing something good, give them a little praise. Like, Jason, thank you for giving every realtor except me socks. I know that they appreciate having their little toes warm all year round. Okay, maybe don't be a smart aleck about it. But really, a pat on the back. An example, I know Evan does this, but some of our favorite leaders are those that when we were just getting started, they gave us like that insignificant little pat on the back that you still remember, right? Like, you know, you see somebody new in a meeting and they have the nerve and they speak up. As you're walking out of the meeting, you know, maybe you pat them on the back and you say, hey, great comments, thanks. I mean, that's
So right. You're so
Or
right.
even just acknowledging their existence.
Yep.
That's good.
So
That's
many leaders just walk out of a room and they don't pay attention to the rest of the people. But a true, genuine, generous leader will acknowledge your existence, because you may not be able to, when they are several levels above you in leadership, you as the new person can't help them. They can't get anything from you. But just acknowledging your existence as a human being goes so far.
I think we're back at self-awareness again on that one a little bit, right? And that is so true. And I think we all remember those moments. And Lee, what you said about somebody just saying, hey, good comment in there. Like, it costs nothing and it's so meaningful to the person who receives it. Well, thank you all for being so generous to share your time with us today.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I want to mention real quickly, we have a few awesome guests coming up next week. John Mayfield is going to be here on the 3rd. Holly Mabry is going to be here. My fellow Arizona and great friend. John Smaby from Minnesota is going to be here on the 10th. I think we're going to corner Paula Montofer and see if she'll come hang out with us soon. We love when getting to have guests like Jason and you know, you guys sharing with our people and chatting and learning from one another. We really appreciate it. Jason, you got anything coming up that you want to share with us that we should be on the lookout for, or how's your world? What's happening?
My world is good. I look forward to the day when I can fly again. But I'm just so grateful, you know, that you were generous enough to think of me for this, you know, broadcast, and I just look forward to hearing from John and from Paula, and you had Mabel Guzman on a couple of weeks ago, and she, you know, I love Mabel, and I hope to see all of you in Alabama and in Florida, and you know, I'll work on getting you at both associations because I'm a member of both.
I hope we get to see you in New Orleans. I know I was supposed to see you in DC. That got canceled. I was supposed to see you in Ohio. That got canceled. So and
hopefully New Orleans will not get canceled.
Yeah, look forward to seeing you then. All right, y'all, be well. Thanks for spending time with us, and we will see you next week.
See you guys.
Bye.
Bye.